And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to IT Career in Australia live stream. And tonight's topic is difference between working in a startup versus corporate in IT industry. Thank you so much for finding some time this evening to join our live discussion. Please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. If you're new to my live show, I'm Jana Martins and I've recently entered IT industry myself. So I'm passionate about learning more and also share my new findings with you on this YouTube channel. So again, tonight we're going to talk about difference between working in a startup versus corporate in IT industry, of course. And Ashish is going to share his story, his experience, and maybe give you, some tips to you what you need to consider when deciding if you should work for the startup or a corporate. So incredibly relevant topic for those who, I guess, not sure and still deciding what sort of company they would like to join. So make sure to tag or share this video with the colleagues and friends who need to hear this. And before I pass it on to Ashish to introduce himself, I just want to quickly remind you that we're going live as usual on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So to watch the replays, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. I'm going live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network. And we're talking about all the things around IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. So you can also join my meetup group to make sure you get notifications about upcoming discussions. And we're going to try to answer all your questions from all the platforms. So make sure ask as many questions as you want, but stay on the topic, please. Yep, questions on topic. And the most active participants will also receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. Also, I always encourage you to use this live stream as your opportunity not only to learn some new information, but to network with people in the industry. So that's enough of me. Group is joining us. Hi, Group. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying hi. Again, guys, really appreciate if you're saying hi in the comments, because if you don't say hi, I don't know that you're here. So, enough of me. Passing on to Ashish to introduce himself, please.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, we can make it productive for the viewers. Myself, Ashish Tripathi, I've been in IT since the beginning of my career. It's been almost 15 years now. Worked on different enterprises, different big corporations, and last few years I've been working on different startups as well. Primarily 0 to 1 startup, which are bootstrapped, building something from scratch. So very, very early stage of startup, no funding and all that. So it's been a great experience there, and hopefully I can provide some great tips from my experience.
Thank you, Ashish. Few people's here. Brian is saying hi. Thank you, Brian. Smail is here as well. Smail's been here every week. Go, Smail. Great to see people consistently joining. So, guys, again, say hi as well so we know you're here. And I really like how color coordinated we are today as well. All this purple kind of red theme. So
And it wasn't planned,
we didn't
right?
plan.
Yeah, we didn't plan it.
We didn't plan it, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with this from the video point of view. Okay, so let's get back to the topic. Yeah. So I guess Ashish, in the beginning, as usual, can you please just tell a little bit about yourself? So you already mentioned that you were working in a corporate and startups, but maybe just give us a bit of your story, what you've been doing during your career, and I guess why are you passionate about this topic tonight?
All right, so I'll start from the beginning of my career. Actually, when I just passed out from the college in 2007, uh, me along with the friends, like we were interested in doing something of our own, and I did my education from the India. So in India, there's a huge startup culture as well. So we were planning to do something of our own. So we thought that okay, we'll start our job first, and then we'll figure something out. And so I started with my job with one of the mass recruiter like Cognizant. But in 2008, like we hit the recession, and it was pretty bad. So we stayed where we were just to survive through that phase. and probably during that time we sort of people got scattered. We lost that momentum and that sort of inspiration to jump into the startup wagon at that point in time. But that was always on the back of my head. I always wanted to do something at one point, which I can call of my own, and then I can you know uh, it always excites me to work on a startup anyway. So I focusing on that one, that's my target. I keep on jumping from one company to another, which is smaller and more focused work. So I started with Cognizant, jump into Sapient, which is smaller, like from 100,000 employees to 20,000 employees. Then I switched to another company which 300 employees. Then I switched to another company with 50 employees. And most of the time I was working with actually as a consultancy, but I also worked on the product companies. So when you are a tech consultant, like you are most likely be aligned to an enterprise. Like currently I am employed by Digio, one of the best tech consultants here in Australia, but I'm helping ANZ in one of their security layers, uplifting that one. And ANZ is one of the biggest corporate, biggest enterprise here in Australia. So I have experience with working on smaller companies as an employer, but then I have experience with consulting big corporations, and I'm deep into that one, how they work and how they functions. But before I joined the DGO, actually I was working with another product company called Intershop, and I was consulting Australia Post, which is everybody knows that Australia Post is the biggest sort of parcel deliverer within Australia. It has the 85% coverage in terms of the network. And then I actually realized that I need to sort of make a move now in around 2016, 17. And then I started looking out for zero to one startup where I can, start contributing from the start, not, not from a stage where they are already settled and well established. So I started helping out with the startup of my colleagues and friends voluntarily, of course, just to learn and, get some more exposure before I can, do something of my own. And last year, I joined in a startup as a tech co-founder called Explio. So this is something that I'm fully engaged and invested in. Besides my side to side day-to-day job, that's been my journey so far.
So basically, at the moment, you're working for one of the largest corporates in Australia, NZ Bank,
Yeah.
and in the small startup that probably how many employees you have there at the moment? How many people is involved?
Well, full time just two, me and the other founder.
Yep.
But then we get on demand help from different like friends and family, right? So I get from
Yep.
friends to help me out with something, or we hire on demand casual consultants from Upwork or something, just to get some work done. But full time is just two, so two employees.
Yep. So you have basically two extremes at the moment, so you can talk
Yes,
about right
both the
now.
words.
Perfect. Perfect. JL joining us as well. Hello. Thank you for sharing your experience today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I think we have a really good picture here before we dive into it.
All right.
Yeah, so corporate versus startup. So I think, this picture here in the corner really kind of showing us that there is no preference there. It will be
No,
challenges everywhere.
everywhere, and that's me. That's me. That person in that picture is me on both the sides.
So during the day you experience one, and then in the evening you experience the second one,
On the weekends as well, yes. So in the
and in the
corporate side,
weekends.
like yeah, in the corporate side, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. It's keeping me busy, but at the end of the day, if I look at my, if I reflect on it, what I did, I don't really see the impact of my work making to the direct consumer. So I'm doing something, I'm busy, but I don't feel like that. I'm in action, I'm in the on the field. But on the startup side, I'm holding everything, the whole forward, and I'm literally worried about if I make a mistake and everything is gonna crash.
It's yeah, that's remind us the usual saying about the hamster in the wheel
Absolutely,
when we talk
exactly.
about the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember this. I think it was a Greek mythology example where the guy was sent to hell, and his punishment in hell was like pushing the rock uphill till he get to the top, and then the rock would fall
Yes.
again, and he would top, and he would push again. So I was trying to remember the name of the guy who went to hell for that. But yeah, guys, if you remember, let me know. I'm sure it was a Greek mythology or something. But anyway, so basically, it's kind of like, two sides of the same coin. You either
Yeah.
on one struggle or on another.
Yeah, that is true. Like, I mean, people might see that the corporate and startups are two different entities, two different, places to work. But once you start working on them, either of them, you start realizing that how well connected they are. I mean, one can't live sort of without the others. I've seen in my own experience, I've seen a lot of examples. Like, I work with ANZ, and we use a vendor product called Styra. And Styra is a startup in US. It's a US based startup. So startups are always producing products which can be used by the startups, but the which can be used, sorry, by the enterprises, the corporates, and corporates produces the services and the other kind of products which are used by the either they invest on the startup, which are used by the startup. They are essentially the consumer of each other. One can't live without the other. Just a different way of working things there.
There you go. I think Brian knows the name of the guy who was pushing the rock.
Oh, nice.
I can't even pronounce it.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. I knew there was some, god there who was sent to hell, pushing the rock. Here we go. Thank you, Brian. Otherwise, I won't sleep tonight. And Peter saying hi as well. Thank you, Peter. And guys, I want to ask you, like, if you have experience, in the corporate or startup, did you feel one of those ways? Like, yeah, did you feel like you're pushing the rock, or did you feel like you're just running, running in
Yeah.
the hamster wheel? We have someone else joining us. I can't see your name. Sorry, post your name if you can as well. Thank you.
And probably just wanted to throw one line in as well, just for the audience, if they you want to ask questions related to that one. That the three startups that I've worked in past, they were from the fintech, recruitment tech, and the current one that I'm engaged in is ag tech. And I'm really passionate about the ag tech industries, and fintech is definitely more seems more promising. So yeah, if you are interested in those sort of things, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer at least.
Yep. So yeah, guys, don't be shy to ask some questions. So okay, let's go to, I guess, some differences. So I know we have a bit of a list here that we're gonna go through. So I guess let's just uncover it point by point, and I guess give the people who may be trying to make this choice at the moment, give a bit of a
Yeah.
overview what they can expect from the startup and corporate environment. Okay, so what's point number one?
And then, I mean, this list is purely based on my own experience, my own perspective.
Yep.
Different people might, can have a different sort of, experience and expectations as well.
Maybe I'll have a different,
Absolutely, yeah.
opinion too. So, and I
You've been in
voice
big
it.
enterprise as well, yeah. You can share a lot of experience too.
Okay, so high risk, yeah.
High risk, but potentially of high rewards, financial safety and stability. So everyone knows, like, if you're working in a corporate, like, you get a salary, even if you don't work, even if that corporate enterprise is not doing well. For example, last 2 years, a lot of banks weren't doing well. They were making losses and all that. But that doesn't mean that they were not paying their employees. They will always get paid all the perks and all the allowance that they have. It will always be given. So you'll have the financial safety and security and bit of stability of your job, that you won't be kicked out of the job. It won't go down. It won't crash in a day. It will crash if something goes wrong, but you'll have time to figure out your next step. That's the stability you get in the corporate world. But with the startup, and all those startups point are from the early stage startup that I've been experienced with, so 0 to 1, not the one which have the funding, so they might be a little bit more stable. Now I'm talking about where you are bootstrapping, where just only a couple of guys are hustling. So in that one, like, definitely it's gonna be a huge risk. uh, Depend upon, actually, risk is always like, in terms of financial risk, of course you'll have to be invested, not just from your time and energy perspective, but also from financially sometime. So one thing is you need to financially invest. Another thing is you may not get return from the startup unless it starts making money, unless it starts generating the revenue. So that's the risk always. But like they say, like, there's no gain. Where there is a high risk, there's high gain, right? So if it gets successful, if it gets funding, you might get a higher reward, higher than the what corporates can give you.
And it's quite interesting talking about stability these days as well. And I think it's also, I guess, changing, especially with the COVID times. People always think, if I get like a permanent job in the bank, it's gives me that stability. But
Yeah,
it could be so subjective as well, because yeah, you might feel that in a stable certain environment, but it can change. Why one day like that? The government changed, the funding changed, the
yeah,
management change. So I guess I think it's like a kind of a separate topic about the perceived stability that the
absolutely.
people
Yeah,
see it sometimes, in the kind of permanent jobs where um, yeah, so it's all about, I guess, taking calculated risks, but what is certainty and stability? That's a big question these
it's a big
days.
question. Yeah. And then different times people were expecting different sort of things like that. When you get a kid, it's a newborn and they are young, you want a little bit more stability at that time. But maybe once they are grown up, you are willing to take a little bit more risk.
Yep, definitely. um so what's next in our list?
Yeah, changing roles and responsibility in the startup and corporate's well-defined role and scope of work. So, in like I'm sure people can relate to that one. When we go into the startup, they have this well-defined structure, well-defined requirements. Like they know what needs to be done, and it is well structured, well broken down into different pieces. Different teams are picking up different things, and then they are sort of collaborating together to finally, creating a product or service. In a startup, there's no well defined work. They don't know what will come, and it keeps changing every day. Like I know it's just two guys in this startup that I'm working with, Chris and me, and we discussed that okay, we should come up with this feature because he's got feedback from the customer that they like this feature. But let's say you got feedback from five customer, and we started working on that feature already. But then suddenly, when he starts talking about different sort of customers, they are getting a different feedback that no, they want a different feature. So we need to pivot very fast and startup. So you can't spend too much time on defining your scope of work in advance. It needs to be very agile. It needs to be very flexible in terms of what you can do and what you are supposed to do in the startups.
And I think, when you're looking for the job in a startup, sometimes it's just even impossible to put position description like in
There's
place.
no position, yes. So yeah, there's no position. And in the corporates, you are joining either as an engineer, tester, or platform engineer, or BA, or iteration manager. Different roles. There's a thousand roles there. When in startup, you're just joining as a in early stage startup, you're joining as a founder. And if you're on the tech side, you would be looking after basically everything. You would be doing testing. You would be building it. You would be deploying it. You would be managing it, and you would be also solving the production issues and all that. There's no clear segregation of roles and responsibility. You would be jumping here and there everywhere, basically.
Yeah, no, 100%. Few people actually joining us saying hi. Hi, Hemant. Hi, Abbas. Thank you. Thank you guys for saying hi. It's always good that, that people saying hi in the comments, and we're not just talking with the crickets. uh, so, okay. Yeah. So I guess that one is, makes sense. And I feel like it goes further than startup. It's go all the way to scale ups. I think like till company reach about like 50 people,
Absolutely.
you hardly will have this well
Yeah.
defined scope of work. It's yeah,
Yeah. That
it's
is true.
hard to like really define what the person in the position should do. So
Yeah.
it could come up as a surprise, like if you get in
Because
a smaller
having
company.
yeah.
That's your position description. You start working, you might be surprised what you're actually gonna do.
Because having to put that sort of structure within a company and organization also adds a little bit of overhead because you also need to maintain that structure then. And you in the startup early stage, you don't have that much time, energy, or even money to have that sort of overhead. You just want to make value out of every penny at that point in time.
Yeah. Which I guess brings us to the next point.
Bottom up approach and top down approach. It's not a bottom up guys, it's a bottom up approach and the top down approach. And I particularly like this one, and it's from one of the novel that I read recently. It's called jugaad. Jugaad is an Indian term which was accepted by the Oxford Dictionary, and it means like solving a problem in a more frugal and flexible way. So how corporate works is they plan everything upfront. So, for example, the next when the next financial year starts, they will allocate a budget to one particular division or tribe or domain that that amount of money will go to that domain, and based on that amount of domain they will define the set of work that they can do on that amount of dollars they get, and based on that amount and based on the work they will then get the resources to actually get that work done. So it's coming from the top. Leadership defines the budget, people then they define the work, then they define the resources, and then the product is actually coming out of it. So it's already set, the scope is already set from the top. Bottom approach is for the startup where they don't have anything. They don't have budget. They don't have money. They don't know anything. They don't have resources. They just know that they need to come up with this product, and then they will start selling it. Then they will start getting the traction. So they just straight on jump into it. How can they come up with something? How can they create something, a product or service, depending upon the idea of the startup, with minimum resources, with minimum resources, money or even human capital. They won't have anything, right? That's the bottom up approach, that they just start creating something that others can use with the minimum resources possible.
And I think it's coming back to that point about the job description. Sometimes those skills that people of the startup have will define what will get done first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This depends of the existing skill set. Yeah, so again, coming back from the bottom to up, instead of deciding what we want to do and then trying to figure out how.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah, paying attention to what we're actually good at and we can do quickly.
exactly.
Which is basically similar to next point.
Yeah, that is true. Both the points are related. So, established and proven frameworks in corporates and frugal and flexible approach in startups. So, corporates, because they don't have a risk appetite, they are all well established firms. They got the millions of users consuming their services and product. They can't risk having a bad service to the consumer. Right? They don't have any risk appetite. They can't. They got the brand name, so they can't have any bad press around that one. So they always go with the established and proven frameworks of doing things, either process or even tools. They will start using the tools and technologies which is proven by the other industries that accepted that one, and so that they don't get any risk and they get proper support on those process and tooling as well. Whoever is the vendor partner, right? But then that comes with the cost as well. They need to pay that sort of services, charges to that sort of services. In terms of the startup, they, since they can't pay, they have options to go whatever they want, right? They can go with the tooling which is open source, which is still experimental, right? They don't have to be vetted or industry accepted, but they are cheaper and they are probably easier to implement. That's what startups want actually when they kick off this journey.
Yeah, and it's a good point in terms of the sometimes corporate just can't afford to make the mistake.
No, yeah.
But the mistake will cost them, yeah, just will
And
cost them too
startups
much.
are all about taking risk. Like until they take a risk, until they start on one path, they won't know whether that direction is right or not. Right? They can't know before starting the journey. They'll have to start on one path, and if it wrongs, they'll have to pivot immediately to another journey. They'll try something else then, but they'll have to start moving, continue moving in certain directions.
Um, Also, Devendra saying hi and saying, no crickets here. Here you go. It's good. It's good. So we actually have a real listeners, not the crickets. That's good to know.
That's good.
Coming back to the points, Ashish, I guess you already mentioned this highly experimental
Yeah.
versus processes and guidance.
Yeah, again, this is quite related to that one. The only difference is that there's a lot of in the corporates, like there's a lot of monitoring, a lot of guardrails would be placed in, and you were told that what you need to do exactly. You can't be experimental. You can't be sometimes part of the decision, depending upon which level you are. you would be given that the for example ANZ, they're gonna go with the Google Cloud, not the AWS Cloud. So it's decided at up very top. You can't be experimental. You can't say that no, I want to use the AWS Cloud because for one particular thing, AWS Cloud is better than the Google Cloud. So sometimes you don't have control because there are already process and guardrails in place in the corporates, and you'll have to adhere to that one. You can't actually break those, and that's part of the job. That's and
Yeah.
the
Or
with the startup like
do one feature on on AWS, do another feature
now,
on Google.
but
That's fine.
the advantage of being in a startup is that you can be experimental and sometimes you can get the best of the both world. Like you can have the you can choose what is best in the market rather than what is most used or most adopted in the market.
And yep, and I guess which bring us to the next point.
Blinkered view and the bird's eye view. This one is again sort of my favorite, and this one probably I don't like about corporates. My personal opinion, of course. Blinkered view is that incorporate for even one product. You're working on one product, which can involve multiple services. Let's say if you're talking about the ID, it can have a multiple backend services. It can have a front end. It might have a lot of tooling which is used in the continuous improvement, continuous integration, and the deployment. It might be using one cloud, two cloud, or multi-cloud, on-prem, or different sort of vaults and secret manager and whatnot. In corporates, you'll be there will be multiple teams managing those multiple things. So someone would be managing front end, someone would be managing one service, other team would be managing other service, someone would be responsible for deploying it in the cloud, someone would be responsible of the infrastructure, right? And that's just for one big product. And you would, if you are part of a one team, you will have this link up. Like you can only see that much, you can only do that much. If you want to deploy it, you'll have to reach out to other team. You don't even know how they're doing it. You don't have that visibility. You can't get hands on that one. You can't learn that thing. If you want to learn that thing, you have to switch the team. You have to move there. So you don't get the holistic view of everything. But while in startups, like if it's just few employees there, like you are sitting up top here, and you can see everything. You see all the services, you see what tooling you are using, which leverage you are using, and how you are deploying it, and you need to see everything. Otherwise, you will lose traction of that one. You lose the visibility of that one. Then you might be in trouble then, right? So that's the main difference. I mean, it becomes part of the responsibility that you need to have that bird eye view for the startup so that you can actually manage it properly.
And I think it's one of the challenges for big companies in general, like trying to break these silos and break this communication,
Absolutely.
because sometimes then there is, this no communication between the teams. People don't even know why they need it certain way. Just because another team told them to do it this way and they no idea why it needs to be done. And some
Yeah.
people um, would be questioning, like, oh, why do I need to do it this way if it doesn't make sense for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
And
you
and
actually see how it's done in another way, yeah,
Yeah,
on
and they are
another
trying to
team.
break those silos. Like they are trying to come up with ideas and processes to make teams more collaborative. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't work because they've got their own responsibilities to do, and sometimes there are so much segregation, so much rules, process, and guardrails that it becomes hard to collaborate. But I understand. I appreciate that the companies are doing whatever they can to break that silos because it is hurting them in the long run anyway.
Yeah. And I guess as bigger you get, as harder it gets to create this communication as well,
Yeah,
because
that
you
is true.
just have too many different teams, too many
I
things
mean, you must have seen that
happening.
in your experience as well. Like you've been into enterprises.
uh Not IT enterprises, but
Yeah,
yeah, definitely, like,
it's the same story
um
everywhere.
idea, yeah, so idea what's happening on the other side. And especially if it's just someone send an email from, I don't know, someone from HR send the email saying it's something going to change. You don't even going to read this email.
Yeah,
you
that's true.
know you kind of like, oh, email from HR, and there was maybe some important information that you don't
Yeah,
even read. And then suddenly you see that everyone start doing things differently, and like, oh, how did I miss
yeah.
that?
I can relate to that because I mean, if someone is sending out a notification, they will keep all the relevant stakeholder in the loop, and then there are hundreds of guys in the loop. So you think that it's probably abstract information or generic information, you would ignore that one. And later on,
Yeah.
they'll say that we notified you. Why didn't you take the action?
Yeah, especially if it's like you send to all users, like, okay, some general info, who
Exactly.
gonna read that?
Yeah. It's like those
um,
terms and policy. No one's going to read those, right?
yeah. So it's another one. Yeah, and then I guess yeah, it's coming back to this massive challenge in communication in the big companies. So which I guess different companies trying to resolve different
Yeah.
way. And I guess that kind of bring us to next point that we touched on before. I guess in the previous points as well. Being a jack of all the trades.
Yeah. Yeah. And the master of one. So, I mean, everybody must have seen here that when they go into the market for a job or opportunity, like they always target. If you're they're targeting a big enterprises, corporates, their job description will target a certain skill set. Like they should be at a good at the back end or the front end or on the platform side or the tester or a BA. Right? There are roles defined. There's a clear segregation between the responsibilities of each role, and that you'll have to be if you are a master of one on the front end like React, or if you're back end person, Java or Golang, or a platform person or a cloud person, you'll get job easily. You don't actually need to know about the other aspect of technology. But when you're in a startup, like we can't have 10 guys working on one product, because it's not feasible. We don't have that much resources to spare, and that means you'll have to, even if you don't want to, even if you are not skilled, you'll have to jump on everywhere. You'll have to be front end guy, you'll have to back end guy, you have to learn how the cloud works, you'll have to learn how to deploy the things in the cloud. So you'll have to be jack of all trades. Even if you are not a product guy, you are a tech guy, but you have to be part of the product discussion to decide on the roadmap, backlog of the product, and so that the process of the journey, we are it's continuing. Because if there's no CPO, there's no chief product guy in the company, that doesn't mean we'll stop building the product. We'll just keep on building the product. It's just that you'll have to come up with the ideas, you'll have to come up with the features, and it doesn't mean that you'll be right all the time. You'll be wrong sometimes, but that doesn't change the fact that you won't learn from that. You'll always learn from either you're doing wrong or right. Learning is always there. That's the only constant.
And I think it brings us to a bit of a challenge here when it comes of the career choice, because it's not always easy. I guess, and correct me, like what would be your opinion here? It feels like it's not actually that easy to change your career from startup to corporate and back, because then the corporate the hiring for particular position, they would love to see this particular experience. And if you're
Yeah.
coming from the startup environment, yes, you've done it, but it's not all you've been doing. Like you maybe it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
10-15% of your job, or even like, I don't know, even if it was 50% of your job, it's still not something that you are going in depth every day.
Yeah.
And that might
Oh,
be challenge for you to go
challenge.
back to the corporate client, and vice versa. When you working for corporate and you want to work in a smaller company, you're so used to concentrate on these particular skills and tools that
Yeah.
might be harder for you suddenly like realize, oh, I need to jump here and jump there. So what do you think, like how people should navigate it as well, like when they
I
making
mean,
these career choices?
yeah, I kind of agree with that. That there would be challenges from going one side to the other side, but like I have done only from one side to the other side. Like I've done from the corporates to the startup yet, not the startup to corporate, and hopefully I don't have to
Hmm.
do that. But I think my experience has been 15 years of experience. I've touched almost every aspect of the technology, front end, back end, platform, cloud, everywhere. So I had an experience of all the things, and I kept it that way. If you are sort of a startup minded, if your aim is to come up with something of your own, that's my suggestion, and because that's what I followed. That I never went too deep into one technology, because technology is evolving very very fast. It's like a treadmill analogy, right? And that says that if you are standing still in that treadmill, you are actually going backward. So even to stand still at one position, you'll have to walk forwards, and that's what is the case with the technologies. If you are not learning new things, you will go backward. You will be deprecated at some point in time, because this every couple of years old technologies are deprecating, new ones are coming into the picture. So that's been my intent always, to keep on learning new things in a different stacks, front end, back end, and the platform side. So covering everything, because I knew that I wanted to go into the startup direction. I would need understanding and that sort of fundamentals from each aspect of side. But some people, it's a personal choice. Some people, I've seen that they have become master of one, which are very, very sort out to be like. People respect that, and people approach them for solving critical problems, because they know in and out about everything of that particular tool and technology. So it's a personal choice. So it's sometimes it's easier to go from the corporate to startup if you have time. Over the time, you can learn different things, and then you can make a move. But if you're in a startup, yeah, I agree that it might be a bit more challenging to jump back into the corporates, because they might be looking for a specialist on one side of thing. And then when you have been into different, you've been touching at different things, and then when you are assigned to just one thing, you may also not like it, right? Because you are used to doing a lot of things, you're used to getting that sort of exposure. Then suddenly you are asked not to even look at that side. So I don't know, it works different for different people, but definitely sounds challenging there.
Would you say it would be good practice for people, I guess, maybe try to decide in the beginning, like in the beginning of their career, should they think about what kind of path they should take, and think like, okay, so I want to go to corporate and I want to, like, I don't know, concentrate on DevOps, and I will be, senior DevOps person working on Kubernetes, and I'll be like specialist there. And so they need to take this path from the beginning, or like, okay, so I want to be in a startup and try to grade this, like I don't know, like broader knowledge and maybe business knowledge and stuff. So do you think people need to make this choice quite early to be successful in each?
There are two questions there. One is startup or non-startup world. Another is like which direction technology side they want to go. So from the technology side, I would say probably they don't need to make that early decision that they want to be DevOps or developer engineer or tester. It's a vast world, technology. They can initial couple of years they can explore everything, because sometimes we don't know what we need or what we like. Right, once we start exploring the DevOps side, testing side, or maybe just the BA non-tech side, then they will see, okay, this is something that I like that. I like working that one. This is something interesting to me. After a couple of years, maybe they can go in one direction, but it's they can explore all whatever is out there on the technology side initially. For a startup, I think it naturally comes in, like you are into that sort of mindset, that sort of community. Because I've been around a lot of people who were into startups. We were always talking about those things. Uh, I'm part of a lot of communities which are startup focused. So it was already always my interest since the college time. So I was always into that sort of checking out what's happening in the startup ecosystem here in Australia and back in India and the US. But I've seen a lot of people who didn't have any plans earlier, but then they got into this startup mindset later. So it can happen, it can change. You just need to keep your, mind and your perspective open, that anything can happen.
But
It's a
yeah,
long
so but
journey.
I think like I kind of, I feel like we agree that in general it's easier to start with the corporate and maybe try the few things in the corporate and
Yeah.
then shift to the startup, rather than starting with a few startups and then suddenly like, oh, this startup didn't work, this startup didn't work, I might as well get a corporate job. So that's definitely would be a harder
Yeah,
pathway.
that is my understanding, because once you start with a well-established thing, at least you learn a lot of things: how to run your business, how the market looks like, how to approach a consumer, sales and marketing, business strategy. There's a lot of aspect of running a business, running a startup, which you won't know when you start a career. You are still an entry level thing. So it makes sense for me at least to start journey with well-established firm, so that at least you'll start earning as well. You'll be settled. Plus, you'll start exploring the whole world. And if that thing is somewhere in the back of your head anyway, the startup, you'll find a way eventually, like I did.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think we have a few more points there as well, about the actually about the self learning and yeah, the coaching and mentoring. I guess that's kind of related to what we just mentioned in terms of maybe in the
Precisely.
beginning of your career, it is beneficial to go to corporate.
Yes, precisely because of the same reason. Because you'll get a team, you'll have a senior leadership team who can actually coach you, who can actually guide you how to choose things, how to make a decision, how to do a risk assessment, and how to be a cost effective, how to be how to foresee things, how to plan. There's a lot of things that you need to learn when you go into a startup. So that can kind of coaching and mentorship those big corporates or established firms can provide you, and they can also teach you how to be collaborative. Like it's not just one team. You're always working with 10 different teams. You're always working with different stakeholders within a firm. So you need to collaborate with different people to make one solution work. So you learn a lot of team playing kind of things within working in a startup. So it's important to build your for your personal and professional growth as well. While in a startup, like you won't have those many people to help you out. You will have your friends and your network, but everybody is busy, so I'm not sure how much time they can invest. So it's really it would be up to you what you need to learn. You'll figure it out that for a startup I need to learn this. You'll have to be self-learner. You'll have to be self-motivated to do those sort of learning, and you also need to adapt. Like if you start learning something and you start applying that in startup, it doesn't work. You'll have to, without wasting time and without investing too much time into making it work, you might have to just switch it to use start using something else, adapt to the change, adapt to the market, whatever comes in on your way. So that's kind of a different mindset, or I think I would say a different attitude thing, working with between startups and corporate.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what else we haven't mentioned? Did we mention so the last one?
Yeah, red tape and bureaucracy. I mean, everybody knows about that one. Not a very. It's a necessary evil. I usually say that like big companies need that sort of thing just because to keep things stable because they don't have a risk appetite. So they need all that bureaucracy. They need all those sort of approvals and security assessment and whatnot. They need all those things to so that they can secure their work, secure their customers, and protect them, protect their business, and protect their customers' business, customers' intent as well. While in startup, you don't need all that. I mean, this is it takes a lot of overhead as well, having a red tape and bureaucracy to maintain that one. It is a huge cost and effort overhead. And in startup, we don't need that. We can't afford that sort of thing at this point in time. It's not structured. It just even if there are 5 or 10 guys, it's not structured. There's no hierarchy in startup. Everybody is working together at the same level, and everybody is doing everything possible. They are not it's not divided that one person is doing this task and second person is doing this task because it's highly dependent on everyone that they need to make this whole product, this whole startup, this whole idea work. It's not just one person's responsibility. Everyone is owning the whole thing. And well,
Yeah.
that's the huge difference between the startup and the corporates actually.
And I guess, guys, whoever is still online with us today, I can see still few people's watching. Please share with us: are you a corporate or startup person? Maybe you love working in corporate. You know, you've been working in corporate and you love it, or maybe you've been always working in a smaller companies, startups, and you love it. Or maybe
Working, yeah,
went to one and hated it and then come back. So would be nice if you put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I
yeah.
guess if we have any like startups or corporates
I
fans
mean,
listening to us at
working
the moment.
working in a startup is like adventure sport. Like it's very thrilling. It's very risky. A person needs to be have that sort of mindset. That's it.
And I'm cautious about the time, Ashish. We're already in 44 minutes time
Yep.
on the live stream. But I guess before we start wrapping up, can we, I guess, summarize what everything we said? I know you have like a few points there as well. So let's say someone trying to decide what's right for them. Is it maybe they got two job offers with them, I don't know, same salary. One in the, let's say that's salary, let's say the salary is the same.
Yeah.
Two job offers, one in the startup and now one in the corporate. same salary. So, what would you take in consideration when choosing, I don't know, which of these two jobs to take?
All right, so I've got my own set of parameters that I always, assess before accepting any offer or before, going to one direction. The first one is challenges. So, like, I like challenges. I like to be in a product, in a company, in a work culture where it's always challenging me. It's always asking me to push my limits. So I don't want to be in my comfortable zone. I always want to be, keep pushing my limits, like to be content but not to be complacent. That's what I usually say. The challenges, you need to check out what sort of challenges they have, and do you like challenges? Then what sort of challenges it offers you? Like, are you gonna be client facing? Are you gonna be back end? How many stakeholders you would be interacting with, and what all responsibilities you will have? Are you managing people? Or are you just looking after technologies? Are you looking? Do you have any other responsibility? Those sort of challenges. Second one is expectation. So expectation would be, are you expected to just work on one thing, like one tool, one platform, back end, front end? Or are you expected to lead a team? Are you expected to mentor his juniors? Are you expected to participate in other initiatives that that company might have, like the interviewing different people? They might have a different sort of initiative, like in DGO that I work, they have a lot of initiatives running, and they always encourage people, employees, to participate in that one, contribute in that one, because that helps you grow as well. It will, as well as it helps the other people who are learning from those initiatives. So those sort of setting up those sort of expectation, also like how much you can push yourself to meet their expectation. That's another thing, right? So you need to understand the expectation of both the jobs as well. Then the learnings, like, of course everybody wants to keep on learning, especially in the tech. You can't just stop learning. Tech is changing, right? What the technology that you know now may be completely out of date after 5 years. Then what? So you'll have to keep on learning new things. Then you need to see that those two opportunities, startup or corporate, what sort of learning avenues or opportunities they are providing you. How can they help you, continuously learn, continuously grow in tech side, and or whichever side you want to go, even in the tech side, back and front end, or platform, whichever side you want to go. Do they have that sort of tooling and support that can help you drive your own, learning? Growth is regarding the career ladder. So you start as a junior software, then senior software, then lead, then engineering manager, and director, then principal. Different companies have a different sort of framework or structure. That's one of the aspect I check always. The startup doesn't have many, but if you're going in a corporate, you would see that where you are entering into that job, senior, lead, or a principal. Then what are the different growth options from there, and how long it takes to go through that journey in that one, and
But
is it aligned?
sometimes you grow quicker in the startup because the
Is
startup can grow so quick, and suddenly you have head of title or you know.
if it gets successful, absolutely. So that's what you need to assess, like how long it will take for you to go up there in the corporate, and if a startup is successful, how long it will take you to at that position. Rewards is salary. Like the corporate have a fixed sort of CTC structure. They will have some perks. They will have some performance bonuses, allowances, and the salary. And the startup, like, they might have a different, like, different startups have a different sort of ESOPs, equities, or salary. But then they might have different programs based on what sort of journey they are looking into. Different funding, like pre-seed, seed, Series A. So what sort of rewards or growth you are seeing as the startup is growing. So that you need to assess there as well. There aren't many options for the corporates because they have a fixed structured CTC. You can't change that. You can negotiate that, but you can't really change their structure. But in startup, you might have a say in that. So that's one thing to assess. Time management and personal time.
Definitely easier to negotiate in a smaller company.
Absolutely. If you're,
Definitely, you feel like you've done something really good, you can always come and say, I want my bonus.
yeah, yeah, that is true. And last two are time management and personal family commitment. That is very, very important if you are especially working on a startup, because you can't, for startup, most of the startup, early stage startup, 0 to 1, where you are bootstrapping, you don't have funding. You can't say that I'm working 9 to 5. might have to be available 24/7 sort of thing. Like you need to do as much as you can. And will that affect your personal and family commitment? That you need to make sure that that's a personal sort of decision. Everyone might have a different sort of requirement there, different sort of commitment there. And those two things are also important whenever you are deciding to go either corporate side or the startup side. That's
Yeah,
my
makes
list.
sense. Yeah.
That's my list when I do the check when I either going in either direction.
At the end of the day, it's not all about the obviously company size. Obviously, different startups could have a different pluses and minuses, different corporates as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So we can't really say, it's a black and white kind of choice. Like if
absolutely not.
you this personality go like here, if you like this, go there. So there is obviously millions of things to take in consideration. But yeah, I think you have a pretty good list here of the things that needed to be taken in consideration before deciding.
Yeah,
And I guess you mentioned it before as well. It also depends of personality and the mindset as well. Like I definitely get so bored if I need to follow some instructions. So need to do like
can
same thing.
happen.
I'm just like I can't do it. I just
Yeah, I want to do it my own way.
yeah. So even if it might take me longer to figure it out, but
Yeah.
I need to figure it out and doing my way instead of just yeah.
But then it becomes more satisfying because you see the impact of your work. You see the direct impact of your work to the consumer, to the customer, whoever is using that product in the startup, and that gives you some sense of achievement and satisfaction as well, which you may not get in corporate.
But then on another side, you get frustrated because you feel like you're reinventing the wheel every time, and you're like, "Why I'm reinventing the wheel again? Like it's already it's
That's why
already been
it's
done before."
yeah. That's why it's never a black and white. Like becomes a very personal choice of any individual.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm just obviously cautious about the time. We're really close to finishing our live stream tonight, guys. If you have any questions to Ashish before we finish, please put them in the comments. And I'll just quickly, while you're thinking about your questions, I'll just make a quick announcement about next week. Next week, 8th of June, we're going to talk with Brian. And our topic for next Wednesday, top employee retention strategy in IT industry. I'm sure you know it's a burning topic these days. If the before people stay in the companies for 10 years, now if someone lasted in the company for 18 months, that's good enough. So, um, yes, join us next Wednesday to talk about the employee retention with Brian. And Ashish, I guess let's summarize. Yeah, let's summarize all we've been talking today. Can you, I guess, maybe, I don't know, it's a hard question, but what do you think? Um, what's the top skills people need to be successful in the startups, and what the top skills people need to have to be successful in the corporate?
Well, it's if you're asking me, it's just in one single skill, which is an attitude. You need to have the right attitude because everything else you can learn, be it in corporate, be it in a startup. You need to have that sort of attitude. The attitude may differ what is expected out of it in startup and in the corporate. But if you have the right attitude, you can easily manage everything else that is thrown on your way either by the startup or the corporate. Startup, you might have to be very accepting, very adaptive, and very flexible in terms of all the changes that coming in your way. And the with the corporate, you might face that red tape, bureaucracy, and a lot of processes, guardrails, and a lot of challenges communicating with different stakeholders, making things done. Takes time, it takes patience. But if you got the right attitude, you can get it done. And I won't say that startup is right or the corporate is wrong or the other way. Both are right in their own way. Once you have tried both sides, then only you'll figure out that which one is really interests you. Which one is one that you want to go in. So I would suggest like try out both the ways and then figure yourself out. I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm great that you mentioned the attitude. It's like At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, what
Yeah,
size of the company. It's about what you're trying to achieve, what's your personal goals, what's your
absolutely.
direction, and
Yeah,
what do you want to get out from it. Yep. And even like as we talked before, different startup will have different culture, different corporates will have a different culture, and you
absolutely.
might be a good fit in one, and you might just not really enjoy working for another one. So it's about self-exploring, I guess, and trying and trying different things and learning new things.
Yep, completely agree
um
there.
Thank you, Ashish, so much for your time. I guess, can you just briefly tell us before we finish about the startup you're working now?
Yeah. So it's called Experlio. It's a peer-to-peer creative career platform. We are trying to solve a problem, a huge problem, which is gonna be in future. It will be a shortage of creativity as a skill. So I'm not talking about any tech skill like Java, Golang, platform, cloud. It's a creativity as a skill because people are learning different things online from different courses, but they are not being creative. They are learning skills, but the creativity is slowly, it's winding down uh, in the candidates. And a lot of companies are actually looking for the creativity within that person because learnings will keep on changing. But if they are creative, you'll always find the right solution to that one. So the platform is changing the way you learn things online to be more creative. So it will help you become more creative. That's what we are coming for. That's it's already live. We have a product, and yeah, go check it out. I think.
There you go. I just bring it up
Yeah, perfect.
for
Thanks,
you
Anna, for
guys.
that one. Yeah,
That's the website here. And what you can become a mentor, you can learn new skills.
yep.
There you go. Check it out, guys. Then you have a chance. And okay, Ashish, and just to finish our live stream today, I just would like you to share your favorite inspirational quote.
Oh, favorite inspiration code. That's a big one.
I've just put you on the spot. Doesn't
Yeah.
need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be perfect. Could be just something inspirational what you said before.
All right. From I think one thing I mentioned in this chat is I like being content but not complacent. I like that one. I keep reminding myself that I don't want to be in my comfortable zone. I don't want to be complacent. So that, I always want to keep pushing myself to expand my limit. And yeah, I think that's what I would suggest everyone that be content, be happy with what you are doing. But if you're feeling like you're being complacent, you're being in comfortable zone, you need to just get out of that one. Start being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's the one. That's a good
That's the
one. Here
one.
we go.
I got it.
That's the one. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah, push
Yes.
yourself from your comfort zone. That's the only way you can get yourself into learning zone and progress. Um, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time to join my live stream. Thank you guys, everyone who join us and listen. So make sure to like this video if you get some value from it. If you have any friends who may be, in the beginning of a career or deciding if they need to join startup or corporate, I'm not sure what, job offer to take, make sure to share this video with them. And I'll see you all next Wednesday at 5:40.
Thanks, Yana. Thanks for having me again. It was a great chat.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
And Brian saying thank you as well. And I will see Brian
Thanks,
next
Brian.
Wednesday.